Hey, sorry about that, Reed. You there? Okay. Well, it's all right if they hear me. This is a little bit of behind the scenes. If they're listening, it's fine.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to the 1203. Exciting times, huh? Parker, how are you today, bud? No Parker yet. Well, welcome to the show, everybody. We have Parker Ray here. He does not know the show has started, but he'll catch on here pretty quick. Welcome, everybody, back to the 1203. We are excited to be here once again. Got some great stuff to talk about. Parker, can you hear me now?
Yeah, buddy. How am I sounding?
You sounded great, man. You sound great. You look great.
All right. Well, I couldn't hear you for a while. You were just talking. I don't know what was going on, but I think we're good now.
I unmuted myself on Zoom. That was the issue there. Hey, not a perfect show yet.
Barely squeezed in. So I'm gonna. So as you introduce things, I'm gonna start sharing the link a little bit. But let's get going, man. I'm ready. I'm ready to start. We got Dan. Who's Dan Sheed?
Dan
commented.
He's a friend of mine. He's a big Astros guy. We're going to talk some Astros later. Dan, welcome to the show. Hopefully you stick around. That'll be closer to the end of the show, but we're going to get into the shit today. Really excited about today's show. There's some really interesting stuff to talk about. It's been an interesting week. How's your week been, Parker?
Crazy. I had two, as Jess can attest to, professional development. It's a pain in the butt. They have teachers working their butts off in the summer. You think we get summers off, but we really don't. So we have to do like workshops and things like that. So I spent 2 days from like 8 to 3:30 just listening to people and learning how to teach reading comprehension. I actually had to present two 15-minute lessons, one Tuesday and one Wednesday, and then I had to be graded by a bunch of professors and stuff from A&M. So it was a lot of fun. It was definitely cool. They said I did pretty good for a first-year teacher, so hopefully that carries into the classroom.
How excited you got to be getting, because you're getting closer and closer to move-in time, getting up there to Kerrville.
Yeah,
how excited
by this time next week we'll be moving things up there. So I'm really excited, man. I love Kerrville. It's a nice little town. Everything you need is right in that little town. You don't really have to leave the town for anything, and you're close enough to San Antonio if you want to do anything. But and also the fact that just I think it just seems like slower pace, and I think I can enjoy the slower pace a little bit. And things in the Houston area are just kind of crazy right now, and we don't know what's going to be coming of this virus. But so far in Kerrville, things are pretty under control. People are sticking to keeping to themselves, being responsible, and the virus just isn't as big of a deal out that way. So it's nice to get away from all of COVID because Harris County, as you guys know, where Houston is, it's a hot spot for COVID right now.
It's kind of a hot spot everywhere. I mean, even Snyder, the smaller town that we currently live in, has like 70 something active cases. So, it can flare up just about anywhere. We're going to talk some COVID and how that's going to affect a couple things today. Of course, we're really tired of talking COVID, but it's back in the news again this week as we get closer to a couple things firing back up. Major League Baseball will start next week. We're going to talk some baseball today. NBA is not too far from starting up, and I'm still a little unsure what's going to happen with the NFL, but we will get to that for sure. The biggest news is NFL news, though. Monday, it was officially announced the Washington Redskins are no longer going to be called the Redskins. What was your knee-jerk reaction to that announcement?
It didn't surprise me because they've been trying to do it forever, and it's just one of those things where I don't agree with it. I don't think it matters really. It's a football name. There's probably a lot of different names. I read an article the other day that's saying the Texas Rangers, they were racist, so you should get rid of them.
I'm okay with that.
You can really
for non-racist reasons.
Dallas Cowboys were probably racist too. I mean, they killed Indians, right? So I mean, they're probably racist. I mean, you can really look at anything. The San Antonio Spurs, that's animal cruelty right there.
Oh, dang.
So Cowboys wore Spurs, and they're evil people because they killed the Indians and they did things, long time ago. Everything was bad. So we should get rid of all our history and erase all our names. So, but it doesn't surprise me because Dan Snyder, they hate him. The Washington Post, I think, was trying to write an article on him either today or tomorrow. They really hate Dan Snyder, the owner of the Washington Redskins. So it was only a matter of time before they went after him and his team. And it doesn't really bother me because I'm not a Washington fan. But if they started trying to change some Houston sports teams' names, then I may get a little upset about it.
I mean, who's going to be insulted by the Texans, though? Like, the Texans, I guess, no, there's nothing there with Dynamo, Rockets. I mean, unless you
could think of something.
Offensive to the environment, maybe, with Rockets, but
I'm sure you could think of something if they think harder. I don't think in that mindset, but I know a lot of people that do, and a lot of people on Twitter that do. I mean, Texans, there's a bunch of rednecks in Texas. They're usually they voted for Trump in Texas.
Find something to be offended about.
I mean, I'm sure you could tie it in. You don't have to think too hard. It's just easy when you're canceling things. Like I had an episode on my Parker and Dad show where we talked about how it's so much easier to destroy things than it is to build things up. People need to focus on building things instead of destroying things because it's so much easier to talk crap on things. I mean, we do it all the time. If we really wanted to, we could look through every little thing on this planet and pick it apart because that's how easy it is. I mean, it's not hard.
It's kind of our entire brand at this point is just kind of talking crap about things.
Well, everybody likes to do it, but nobody likes to do stuff. But but you also have a job where you actually have to produce quality work and reports.
Yeah, we don't do that here at Old Main. It's just
that's not a real. I mean, we have fun here, but if we got paid to do that, it would be awesome. But not everybody can get paid to express their opinion. I mean, a lot of opinions are really bad and stupid and should not be expressed, but that's their right. But at the same time, they shouldn't be canceling people on Twitter because someone 50 years ago did something stupid. It's just where it's gone. I don't know. The attack on free speech has just been fun to watch, and it's just weird.
Well, you do have free speech in our comment section right here during the live show. I want to throw that in there before we get too far in. If you have something to say, if you want to ask us a question, please leave it in the comments. We will get to it at some point. And we promise not to attack you and try to cancel you if we disagree with you. At least I do. Parker might. There's no telling there. But feel free to leave something in the comments. But getting back to the Redskins, it's such an interesting situation because it seems like there's been a movement to get this name changed for a long time. apparently, from the research I've done, but it's never really gained any traction. And, like, it's been so ingrained for so long that you almost don't think anything of it. But I will say, and I wrote about this in a column for at the paper last week, I kind of understand it. I really understand why they'd be offended. And here's the best way that I understood it. I don't remember who said this, but basically the way they explained it, you can see why it's offensive when you put your skin color in front of skins. So if there was a team called the White Skins, white people would be pretty mad about it.
No,
black skins,
I think you're wrong.
Brown skins. I think about it.
I think you're wrong there. I think you're wrong. I think black. I think any other color but white. But I really don't think you can call white people anything and they would care. I mean, they really don't.
Maybe.
It's not like it's one of those things where there was actually a movement to replace it with the Washington Rednecks, and I was 100% for that. I identify as a redneck, and that doesn't offend me in the slightest. There are shows. King of the Hill literally makes fun of white people.
You have
it's
a point.
one of the most popular shows
You have a point.
on planet Earth. I mean, come on now. So imagine if there was a show that strictly made fun of black people or strictly made fun of Native Americans, and that's all they did. That was like the center point. I mean, we have names for white ladies. We call them Karens, and it's like an insult. And we have like Chads and things like that. White people get picked on all the time. We just go about our day. It's normal. We have white people picking on white people. We don't care. We're the butt of everybody's jokes. So I have to disagree with the white part, but the black part, yeah, black skins would definitely not fly.
Brown skins would not fly. I mean, you could get real creative with it.
White skins would be funny. You could have a guy in a suit going to a job, and that would be
that's
like
the
an
logo.
insult. Yeah,
it's like a white dude with a suit carrying a suitcase.
It's just a guy. It's a guy working. Yeah,
it looks like you and me doing our thing. Hey guys, I'm here to play. Instead of carrying a suitcase, he's carrying a football.
I don't know how good the team would be. White skins.
It would be the same team, so not very good. But yeah,
you're right.
You're
right.
This is actually really interesting. We have breaking news right here on the show. From the Washington Post, it's now on Bleacher Report. 15 women come out and say they were sexually harassed by employees of the Washington Redskins.
It's all starting.
Heard it here first on the show.
It's all starting.
That organization is crumbling.
It's convenient. It all comes out right now. Because guess what people are talking about? The Washington Redskins. I'm not saying the allegations are true or false or whatever.
We know nothing about them yet.
I'm just saying it always happens like this. Whenever something hits the news, people want to pile on. First, it was racist. Now it's the fact that it's a sexist, horrible organization. Before you know it, the Washington Redskins, they'll just be irrelevant. They'll just be a team that nobody cares about. So either way, I don't care about the Washington Redskins. The attack on it is funny. It seems how quick things crumble. I mean, we're seeing the same thing with Nick Cannon right now because of what he said about the Jewish people. I mean, you say one thing or you do one thing or you have one offensive thing, then all of a sudden all these other allegations start pouring in. It happens all the time. It's just people piggybacking on the popularity of what's going on. It's the 15 seconds of fame kind of thing.
Well, even last week, Deshaun Jackson, and we even went after him, Deshaun Jackson, for his Hitler thing.
We did, but I did not want him canceled, nor do I support Nick Cannon being canceled.
I think he deserves maybe some kind of suspension. I
know you were joking about me wanting to like cancel people, but really, I don't care. They have stupid opinions. Let them air out their opinions. At least now we know they're stupid. I'd rather people let me know what they're thinking than us cancel them and we not know what exactly they're thinking. So yeah, there's always things there's a lot of bad things out there, and businesses have the right to fire whoever they want to fire. But as far as canceling someone completely, I mean, you have to do something really bad for me to want to say, okay, yeah, this person should be deplatformed, because it's pretty much against what we believe as a country. I mean, even bad people should have the right to speak and voice their opinions. That way we know they're bad people. If you disqualify them completely from the argument, they're going to get a following. They're going to think, well, maybe they had a point. Why are they being disqualified? It actually gives them more credibility when you disqualify them and cancel them. So let them talk. Let them dig themselves into a deeper hole is my whole take on it.
Speaking of, and you mentioned the Redskins, the Rednecks a couple of minutes ago as a possible name.
I saw it on a joke site. I don't know if it's really going to happen.
What are some of your favorite names so far? Right now, I think my favorite is either the Pigskins, because it's a nod to
Pigskins,
they
yeah.
had that big group of linemen that they called the Hogs, so it's kind of a nod to that. I also really like Red Tails. It's named
Red Tails
after
was cool.
it's named after a so the Red Tails were a group of black pilots in World War II before the military was segregated. Wait, I said something wrong there, but it was a group of black pilots in World War II. That'd be a nice nod to the history there. Red Tails, Pigskins, and I can't remember what the other one was. But those were the two that I really like so far.
I will say, because this was a problem with the fans in Washington when they were the Redskins. You had a bunch of white people painting their faces red. If you do Red Tails and you have people come in pilots and paint their faces black, you don't want that to happen. You don't want a lot of white people wearing blackface going to your game. So you have to be careful with Red Tails. As cool as it sounds, I would be careful about that. But I like Pigskins.
I think
Pigskins
like
the Hogs thing. And then there was one that was Red Wolves or something that sounded kind of cool. But Pigskins would be me, like going back to the Hogs, because I think that's what they used to call their offensive line, was the Hogs or something back in Washington.
So that's what I was referencing,
because they could dive into their roots. Yeah, I think that
huge.
would be good.
They were a giant line.
And Stephen A. Smith literally said this, which is funny because he's kind of always wanting to protect images and stuff too. But he even said that, okay, just keep the logo, keep everything else, and just call them the Warriors. I'm like, I think you're missing the point, Stephen A. I think the logo itself is kind of offensive because it is an Indian in red face. You can't just keep the logo and just call them the Warriors.
And just I think, expect it to blow over.
Yeah, but you think about it. You have the Cleveland Indians. I feel like they should change their name. You have the Atlanta Braves, the Florida State Seminoles. I mean, there's a lot of names out there that could be considered offensive. We're just getting started.
I'm going to get to the difference between that and the Indians, but I do want to mention possibly the winning name from Andrew Zimmel here in the comments, the Washington Redheads. I, for obvious reasons, am all for that. The only issue, Andy Dalton's got to be your quarterback. And he is obviously a Cowboy. So unless they can work out some kind of trade, you can't be the Redheads and not have your quarterback Andy Dalton. It just doesn't sit right with. Are there any other Redheads in the NFL at quarterback, or even just at any primary position? I don't think I know of any.
It's hard to identify like a redhead quarterback right now that you put me on the spot, but that's actually relevant.
I think Andy Dalton, that'd be great if they had signed
Andy Dalton would have to start.
He'd have to start.
I mean, I'm all for that too. Just keep it red.
I could be their poster boy.
And then just have a bunch of gingers show up, and that would be like their entire fan base would be gingers.
They come to games. They put fake freckles on.
We take souls. We take souls from the opponents.
They come to games with fake freckles, and they paint their hair red.
Instead of stickers on the helmet for like a good play, they just put a freckle. They tattoo a freckle on their face, because that's like one soul they devoured. So every sack, that's like a soul, and they can all celebrate. And then they can have like a fire. They can have like a bonfire at the end of the game where they just a bunch of gingers dancing around the bonfire.
What do you think we do in our free time? Like, you think I have a like it's like the RKK or something?
I don't know what gingers do. I've always been wondering. Or something? I didn't know I was supposed to ask. I didn't know. I mean, I figured that
I'll invite you to the next gathering. As soon
as this show was over, I didn't know where you went or what exactly you did. I wasn't sure. I didn't want to ask. I didn't want to butt in. You know me. I
think you just kind of assumed that we were some kind of like.
I assume a lot of things, and that gets me in trouble. People say, "Oh, what about something about the ass and you and me or whatever?" But that's me. I'm a big ass, so it doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me. I assume a lot of things.
Okay.
I forgot what color hair Andrew has. He's not a redhead. What is he?
He is not a redhead.
His hair looks like.
You know
I haven't seen him in so long.
Dirty blonde, maybe. I haven't seen Andrew in a long time, man. Andrew, how you been? But
he's been good. But maybe he just tuned out. He had the little comment and tuned out.
You mentioned the having to change the Indians' name. Here's the difference, at least for me personally, and I'm obviously not a Native American, but Redskins.
I actually am.
Are you?
I actually am. I'm my great grandpa was Choctaw. He had his last name was Cryer, and he was Choctaw to the bone, real dark skin. But I also have German and Irish and a lot of other more offensive races. So I really can't hang my hat on the Choctaw because the German kind of wipes that out. But because it comes from the same family. I
Yeah.
think in America, a lot of people just have a bunch of mixes. We're just a big mixing, melting pot. That's why it's so funny to me when people in America want to be racist or try to be racist, because where do you start? There is no just purebred American person. We have a bunch of mixtures. We come from all over the world. How are you going to stand up for one race? And I mean, it's going to be very hard to be racist when you have so many different. You can't even be an accurate racist in America because of how many different. Like, because if you look hard enough, I bet there's some black and Jewish and Choctaw and Indian and all that stuff. If you look hard enough, Hitler was a Jew. Hitler found out he was a Jew at the end. That's probably why he killed himself.
Are you saying to be a good racist, you have to be equally racist among all other races? Is that what you're going for?
If you want to be a legit racist in America, you're going to have to do your research and make sure you are right down the line of the Aryan Brotherhood, which is what they want, which is blonde, blue eyes. I definitely don't qualify. I mean, look, I'm a black Irish guy. I mean, look, I have black hair. I wouldn't qualify, but you wouldn't qualify. You'd get kicked out. They'd see your ginger face and they'd kick you out real quick. You would not be able to be racist. But you have to be exactly racist. You have to have a certain look about you, or else you're just not accurately racist, in my opinion. So do your research out there, racist, if you really want to step up your game.
Yeah, racist.
There's a lot of fake racists out there.
Get your crap together, racists. Come on now.
Yeah. Come on. You're losing.
You're losing. You're awful at being a racist.
You can't even keep up with what you are. Nobody knows what they are. There's a bunch of mixing. America, everybody was having sex with everybody back in the day. That's just how it was.
We were talking Indians, and now we're talking about.
Sorry.
But back to what I was initially trying to get to.
Oh, and
what? You just cut out when you said that.
Andrew's blonde.
Oh, I said dirty blonde. I was pretty close.
Yeah, you were right there.
I was pretty close. I got you, Andrew. But back to what I was trying to say. I think Redskins sounds much more derogatory than, say, Indians. Like, Indians almost sounds more like you're trying. It's almost like the Cowboys. You're honoring the name and the history more than you are. Redskins straight up sounds like Redskins sounds like there would be a team called the Dallas Crackers. That's the equivalent to me right there. But the
awesome.
Indians is equivalent to the
team.
Cowboys.
I'd buy a shirt.
I know you would. I think you'd probably be the owner.
I would definitely full force 100% Crackers. We'd have mayonnaise at the concession stand. That's the only sauce you could get. Nothing would be spicy. We just have a bunch of people and the crowd would be so boring. They would only golf clap when things went well. They'd have to keep it professional. And they would all show up and they'd have their little families and we would have bring your dog to game day and, it'd be like a little cute little dog, probably a golden retriever. It would be a whole thing. It would be a cute little franchise. I would run with that franchise. I would win. I would play it. I wonder if you can still be throwback Redskins on Madden. I wonder if they're going to take that off. Something to think about.
Something to chew on. I don't know. I mean, you can still be like the Colt 45s, but I guess the Colt 45s aren't racist.
I know. We think about that. If you can be the Colt 45s, that's
literally
gun.
Just a gun.
I mean, that's violence. That's death. You want to know how many Colt 45s killed Indians? Probably a lot.
Probably
a lot of Colt 45s. But nope, you can still be. That's what the Colt 45s legit though were a pretty cool name. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I wish we kind of had that on sometimes we did. I thought we did have a throwback version of that, but I don't think we can do it now in this climate.
The closest we get is the rainbow stripes.
Yeah, that's true.
Which are really nice, but that's
I actually like
that's
the rainbow stripes. Yeah.
We always play really good wearing the rainbow stripes. Let's move on to another NFL topic. J.J. Watt might not play in 2020. He has mentioned potentially opting out a couple times. He's been very vocal about how he doesn't really agree with the way things are going down with the NFL. What was your initial reaction to that, and then how is that going to affect you guys?
His main thing was the face mask thing, or he doesn't know what exactly they're going to make the players wear. He said that was a threat. That's what he didn't want to wear. He wanted to be able to breathe. I guess it was going to be one of those things that covered the whole face because obviously you have the face mask, but maybe they're going to implement like a visor or something where the players can't constantly be breathing on each other or whatever. So I don't know. I completely understand his decision there. there's a lot of crap going on with the NFL and all of pro sports and sports in general. It seems like where where one sport used to be like where sports used to be an escape from reality, right? It used to be a place where people could go and enjoy things, and now it seems like politics and all this other crap is just blending in. I'm not just COVID, but other things as well. So it just seems like it's all just kind of blending in. And so I understand if JJ Watt's disappointed with the direction the NFL is going. I think it's mainly to do with the face mask thing. But if he decides not to play, that's his choice. It will definitely hurt the Texans because he's a leader, and I think a couple players will definitely follow if he decides to do that. But
well, that was my next question because he's such a big name, right? So if JJ Watt opts out, a guy that big a name, and he's like younger, he's been outside of like the knee injuries, but like physically wise and like his respiratory system, he doesn't have any issues, so he's opting out. Certainly, other guys are going to follow. And how big?
Yeah,
it's just going to be the first domino. How many other top tier players are going to fall? That would hurt the league a lot if you lost several of your top players, your top ticket sellers.
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, obviously, I come from a point of view where people are already mad at the NFL for a lot of other things, for the national anthem crisis, the black national anthem, the taking the knee, all that stuff. So there's just a lot of disgruntled sports fans right now that tend to lean conservative, but obviously they're all over the charts. So there's just a lot more to this. I mean, I think people, as soon as all these stars, more and more traction begins to sit out, it may be hard to get the actual 2020 season rolling. I'm still curious on how they're going to do football with all this crazy stuff going on. I know you see colleges and certain conferences in college, they're starting to pull out. The COVID cases aren't going to stop. They're going to keep getting higher and higher. The more people do things, the more people get out. The cases are not going to stop. It's not going to be like you can completely stop the curve, no more COVID cases until we get a vaccine, which we don't know how long that's going to be. Then the cases are going to keep going up. That's just a matter of just common sense.
I actually have to disagree with you there because we've seen some countries effectively flatten the curve. I mean, I think Iceland was having concerts
You can flatten
this
it,
week.
but you can't completely stop it. Is what I'm saying.
But
you can't completely stop the increase.
But you can flatten it enough to where you can live a relatively normal life.
Well, America did have it flattened for a while, and then we opened things back up, and then it came back. So I'm saying, as soon as you open back up, it's going to start again. And the only problem I have with cases, because we were looking at the statistics, and like if you're younger than 15, you only have like a 0.01%. Only 0.01% of the people who have died from COVID have been under 15. Like 0.03% of the people that died from COVID have been under 24. I was looking up the stats just this morning because we did our Parker and Dad podcast. So the younger kids, 24 and under, most of those people will be fine. And they don't spread it. They actually spread the flu more than they spread COVID. So there's a lot of counter arguments to why we should open up and not worry about the cases more. I'm more worried about the deaths and people dying from it than I am about the case number itself. Because even in Orlando, Fox 35 Orlando reported that Florida they reported 100% positive tests. They didn't report any of the negative tests. And so when they got back the negative test, turns out the percentage of positive tests went way down because they were only reporting positive test cases. So if that's happening in Orlando, which is a pretty populated area, you can almost bet it's happening anywhere. And that's not just me making that up. That's on Fox 35 Orlando. That's what a mainstream news outlet. If people want to look that up and think I'm making up all this crap, they can. But I'm just saying there's actually a lot of data that's proven that we should probably get things back to normal and not live in fear. That's been my argument all along, is COVID's not as bad as we say it is. But we have shut down this whole country. And as soon as we start, there's going to be excuses made to shut down again. I can almost guarantee it. As soon as things start to go back up, and we don't even know what numbers to trust now because we've seen the instance in Orlando where things have been bad. So we don't know if people are actually reporting the right numbers or not. We really are just going off of all this data we see, and we don't really know what to believe. It's really confusing time right now.
Well, getting back to the Texans a little bit, and moving the COVID stuff aside, losing JJ Watt's going to hurt him. And then just the other day, We learned that Kenny Stills was arrested because he would during the protests of Breonna Taylor, and then. Yep. Of course, this kind of plays into Andrew's latest comment. He said, if I'm Deshaun Watson, I'm trying not to play just because of how bad that offense is going to be.
Yeah.
Is that a factor?
A good argument.
Is that a factor? Is this his contract year?
Yeah. I think he should be getting is he going to get paid this year before the season starts, or maybe this is the contract year? I think this might be the contract year.
Well, so I think he was drafted a year after Dak was, and this is Dak's last year was Dak's contract year.
Well, then I think Deshaun Watson is supposed to get paid. He just hasn't gotten paid yet.
So if you're Deshaun Watson in this situation, they added Laramie Tunsil, but he still gets chased around a lot. Now you don't have Kenny Stills. You already don't have Deshaun. You already don't have Hopkins. You've put up numbers in the past. You've proven that you're a top tier NFL quarterback. You could argue.
Kenny Stills was a big loss. I agree.
Do you sit out the year sitting on what you've proven for big money? You don't have to play the year, and you could still get paid
if we think he's going.
You know what I'm saying? Do you sit the year knowing that the team is? You could argue this, but now that if J.J. Watt, now he hasn't opted out yet, but if he decides to opt out, that's a big loss to that defense. That'll hurt their chances. And then of course now you don't have Kenny Stills. You've lost another one of your top receivers.
Is Kenny Stills for sure not playing this next year?
I don't know, but I know he's in legal trouble.
No, I think he got in legal trouble, but it was because of the protests. So I think the league's going to have his back on that. Because if you look at what he got in trouble for, it was the Black Lives Matter protest. And it wasn't like he was doing anything other than protesting. And I don't agree with it. I think he should get in more trouble. But the way things are heading with the league, if you're an athlete getting in trouble for protesting, I think he's still going to be all right. And I know Bill O'Brien, who is trying to make things up with the Houston players after getting rid of DeAndre Hopkins. I know Bill O'Brien said he's support any protesters and anybody who supports Black Lives Matter. So I think as long as Bill O'Brien's the GM and the NFL doesn't do anything to him, then I think he's going to be fine. But we have to wait and see.
Well, let me ask.
So I don't know yet on Kenny Stills.
Let me ask you this, kind of running with Andrew's most recent comment. If you're Deshaun Watson with all that's gone down there, and now you're seeing the money that Patrick Mahomes just got, and I don't think he's going to get paid anywhere near Patrick Mahomes, but he could be in Dak Prescott range where Dak's trying to get 150, 160. Are you trying to get out of Houston? I mean, you obviously.
Yes.
You are?
I've said it a long time ago. Yeah, I think you are. I don't trust, but the reason I do, you can talk about the running game. You can talk about anything you want, but Andrew highlighted it in the comments when he said, worst big game coach in football. And Bill O'Brien is the worst big game coach in football. Have you seen the lead he's blown? Have you seen, and people can argue he's an okay GM, whatever. I'm not even arguing that. I've called for Bill O'Brien's head from the get-go on this show. On this very podcast, I've said Bill O'Brien is trash. So if anybody, I can't say Bill O'Brien is trash and then get mad at Watson for wanting to leave if he does want to leave. So, and the J.J. Watt thing was just a small factor. The Kenny Stills thing was a small factor for me. But the overall factor is the coach. Who's calling the plays? It's Bill O'Brien. He's running the offense. He's the GM. He's got way too much power. Not proven he's good enough to have that much power. This is the same story. It just kind of piggybacks onto it. So if Watson wants to leave, I'm not going to say it. I mean, it's going to upset me, but I mean, it's just going to be a matter of time before it happens, I think, because if he doesn't sign a deal this year, which he's going to have to figure something out, then with all this COVID stuff, this might be a best time for him to look into going to another team with more wide receiver help. He's got, I think the offensive line is it could be better, but the wide receiver help in the run game, he has no help there. And then you have Bill O'Brien, who's one of the worst coaches in the league, if not the worst coach. So it's hard to make an argument for him to stay.
Yeah, the more I think about it, why would he play? He has very little to gain from playing. The more I think about it, I mean, he doesn't need to prove himself. They're probably not going to win much, especially if J.J. Watt isn't playing. And with like you mentioned, they might make the playoffs, but they're not going to do
only because that division is a joke.
But if he doesn't play, they're not a playoff team.
Yeah, if Watson doesn't play, yeah, they're not. But if J.J. Watt doesn't play, I don't think that makes much of a difference.
The more I think about it, I don't see why he would play. The more
Yeah, if Watson doesn't play, they're not a team. They're like a 2-win team. Yeah, 1 or 2 win team. If Watson does play, they may get 8 or 9 wins and barely skate in a terrible AFC South. But because the AFC South is still bad, I don't believe in Phillip Rivers and the Colts. I really don't believe in what the Titans are. I think Derrick Henry had a great year, but as far as their quarterback
He's got
goes,
paid too.
yeah, as far as their quarterback game goes, I mean, people are going to be scouting that run game.
Don't hate
now,
on Tannehill.
So, I mean, he had a good year, but the Texans.
I think Tannehill's good enough to get them to 10 wins in the playoffs, but if he plays like he did last year.
Yeah, I mean, he had a great season last year, and the Texans still held him off pretty good with a lot of injuries. But so we'll see. We'll see how it goes. It's just a weird time. It's weird to analyze it right now because the Texans have a really Deshaun Watson can really make or break you, and if he's gone, then it's going to be hard to do anything without him. So if he stays, they may have a chance to skate in, but they're not going to win anything. I still don't think any team's beating the Chiefs in the AFC. I really don't.
I don't think there's many teams beating the Chiefs. Period.
The Chiefs might win.
They might win again.
5 or 6 more Super Bowls before Mahomes is out of there.
They're just looking real tough, especially with Tyreek Hill coming out saying that his goal is to have 2,000 receiving yards this year.
Yeah.
Like, jeez. Set your sights high,
and there's a lot of people that the fans are already not going to be allowed in the stadium. It's going to be a weird season playing football without fans. That's going to be weird to see.
I'm telling you, they're going to do what the MLB's doing, and they're going to be pumping in this awful crowd noise,
which is awful, which is so stupid.
Kind of just Dusty Baker, the Astros manager, just said it kind of sounded like someone left the water on. It sounded like running water. He was like, "It sounds like someone left a sink on or something."
It's almost like. Yeah, I don't know.
And
man.
it's mandatory.
Like
that's
hard.
the weird thing about it is it's mandatory. The MLB's like, you need to play this. And it's like, why? Like,
really? So the MLB is really trying to.
Yeah, it's mandatory.
Wow.
The
MLB that's is even more bullcrap.
I think it's more for. I think it's more for broadcasts, like television broadcasts, than anything. But still, it's just weird.
It's a joke. It's the whole thing's a joke. It looks like a joke. Sports without fans are just going to be a joke. Will I watch them? No, I'll stream them illegally. I'm not going to get cable, but I'll stream them illegally. I'll can supporting the team from afar because I'm not in Houston anymore, so there's no reason for me to have. The only reason we had cable here is because we had the Houston channels here. We had all our sports channels and everything, so it was fun. And the local Houston TV channels. But now that I'm in Kerrville, I'll probably just go back to streaming Reddit. You showed me a couple good Reddit places you can get MLB streams. Same with NBA and football. Most of the games on football, I could just go to a sports bar or I could stream them on Yahoo. Yahoo Sports does a good job of providing all the football games. I have an app on my phone that I was
not
watching
a sponsor.
the Texans on. Yeah, no, nobody sponsors us.
They could if they wanted
if you want to.
If you want to.
Maybe eventually, if I didn't get us in trouble with the whole telling racists how to be better racists at the beginning of the show.
Nah, that's quality content right there.
Yeah.
What do you think of the Dak Prescott situation? I was really confident they were going to get a deal done, and then they didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess they still have a year to do it, but it really seems like that relationship might be strained.
It was one of those things where I have a video that's pretty funny that I may put up to the camera if I can find it. But it was one of those things where there's a video of on NFL memes of Jerry Jones. He kept holding out the ice cream, and it was Jerry Jones' face on an ice cream guy doing all kinds of tricks with the cone. And the little kid was Dak Prescott, and he was just wanting his ice cream so bad. And Jerry Jones was acting like he was going to pour the ice cream on his cone, but then last second he would pull it away. He would do like that, and the kid started crying. It's actually a really funny video if I could find it. But it's just this kid playing with Dak Prescott. It's like a really funny video. But see if you can see that. It's just the guy right here. He has like the camera, has the ice cream. Oh no, you don't.
I've seen that clip. I hadn't seen it with their faces put on it.
Yeah, he's like, oh, here you go. You want the ice cream?
You want the contract? You want the big contract? Nope.
Yeah. That's what Jerry Jones is doing. That's basically what I wanted to show everybody. But that's what Jerry Jones has been doing to Dak Prescott this whole offseason, really. So, I think if the Cowboys are in a better position to lose their quarterback than the Texans are, because the Texans don't really have a team besides Watson. But the Cowboys have a better coach, a better organization. If things don't work out with Prescott, I actually do think the Cowboys will be okay. I don't think the Cowboys are going to – Ezekiel Elliott is a stud. I really don't think I still think Ezekiel Elliott's the best player on the team. I still think he's the number one guy.
Him or Zach Martin's still a freak, dude.
Well, you got the offensive line. It's hard to account for that.
Zach Martin is still probably one of the best football players in the league.
But Ezekiel Elliott with that offensive line run game, he can carry a quarterback.
And that's why the Cowboys added Andy Dalton. That's why, because
Dalton could use that system. You can't tell me that Andy Dalton couldn't do like a Ryan Tannehill type run with that offense.
He wouldn't. He doesn't have the mobility that Dak does, but Andy Dalton's done some really good things in the NFL, and he's done it with a lot less. He had AJ Green to kind of scapegoat him for a while, but even after AJ Green started having injuries, I mean, the Bengals, other than last year, the Bengals were a pretty decent team, and he's always put up numbers. So, worst comes to worst, you go with Andy Dalton for the year, maybe change your name to the Redheads and just roll with it.
Yeah, and I don't see the Cowboys we were joking about the Rangers. I don't see them ever changing. There's no team in Texas that's going to change their name. I mean,
we're too stubborn.
There was actually a lot of protesters trying to destroy the Alamo, destroy Sam Houston statue, destroy a lot of A&M statues. And then the A&M, like faithful, the old-time A&M people were just standing there like, no, we're not letting you do that to our campus. There's too many traditions in Texas. It's deep-rooted inside Texas. I think people that live in Texas, people love Texas more than Americans love America right now. And I think that's pretty obvious.
Right. I think
Texas pride is probably one of the biggest things in the universe. And there's just so many Texans that would there's people ready to freaking start their own country and roll. Let's see what we can do, man. Let's break away, see what we can do, succeed again. But I mean, there's Texas pride and Texas in general, all the sports in Texas. It's hard to fight that tradition. There's just a rich history because Texas, we do things our own way here. So people don't understand it. If you're from another state, you don't really understand it fully.
And I am so ready for the Houston Astros to just kick everyone's ass.
Yes,
I'm so ready.
That's something we can. Yeah, I definitely want that to happen.
Let's talk some Astros, man. So we are a week away from opening day. Let me pull it up. I believe it is either next Thursday or Friday. It's next Friday. It's on my wife's birthday. That's going to be fun. Of course, I might end up working on plumbing all day, but we'll see. That's another story. But yeah, I mean, baseball is right around the corner, and the Astros have been doing inter-squad scrimmages all week long. In fact, there's one happening right now. There's been some great clips coming out of those. Justin Verlander has been absolutely nasty. I think Brantley and Correa had back-to-back doubles in today's game off of Josh James, who is another guy that we're going to talk about a little bit. I wrote an Astros season preview on our website. If you want to go check that out, it's on our Twitter. You can find it anywhere. Really kind of breaking it down a little bit more in depth, but we can kind of follow that right now. Let's start with the starting rotation. So they were ranked. MLB.com came out with a ranking earlier this week, and I want to get your thought on this. The Astros were ranked 9th. And it was a top 10 list. Astros were 9th. The Texas Rangers, led by bum-arm Corey Kluber, Mike Minor, and Lance Lynn, were ranked 7th. Higher than the Astros by 2 spots, who have Justin Verlander and Zach Greinke. What did you see that?
So the Rangers are ranked ahead of them. Who do the Rangers have again?
So their top 3 are Kluber, Mike Minor, and Lance Lynn. And then I think they have Jordan Lyles, and I don't know who their 5th starter is.
I just don't see.
How does that compare to Justin Verlander, Zach Greinke, and Lance McCullers? I don't understand it. It's
the only argument you could make against the Astros because the Rangers as much. I mean, I know Kluber, whatever. I've heard of him. He's great.
But he's nowhere near as good as he once was.
No. And I know Mike Minor had good. Mike Minor had a
really good year last year. Good year last year.
I know that for a fact that those two guys, whatever, spot on. But I just don't know how you discredit Verlander, Greinke, leading things. And Verlander, they're saying about Verlander is that he can go another 10 years. He looks great.
He wants to. He still throws 99. Season,
he takes care of his body a lot like Ichiro did. I mean, Ichiro was playing into his 40s. I mean, a guy like Justin Verlander who knows how to take care of himself looks still really good. You know, a lot of guys, they let themselves go after a certain time. Verlander's still looking good. But Greinke, obviously, the way he pitches, I feel like he can still go for a long time too. But the only wild card for the Astros is McCullers. If McCullers comes back, Will he be the McCullers we know and love, or does he look a little rusty? Because I've heard negative comments about McCullers not looking as good as people thought he was going to look. And I know it's early, but even with a 60-game season, you know he's going to go balls to the wall. That's not a question. He's going to go as hard as he wants to go. But we've seen sometimes with McCullers, he gets too amped up for the moment, and then he ends up not doing as good as we want him to do because he's a fan favorite. We really want McCullers to do well. I want McCullers to be the future ace of the Astros going into the future, to be our face of the franchise type guy. I really do. But the only argument I can make against the Astros is not with Greinke or Verlander. And I think those guys alone push you above the Rangers. I really do. So that's stupid that they're ranked behind the Rangers. But for argument's sake, the McCullers factor is what scares me.
Well, here's where I'm gonna debate you a little bit here. I think McCullers is going to come back stronger. Now, the thing about Tommy John is you never know with Tommy John. They could come back stronger than they were. We've seen that before. They could come back weaker. We just don't know. Lance has had over a full season and then like almost another full year to sit out, prepare, and rehab. I think he's definitely healed up enough to at least be close to full. And you can go ahead and ask the New York Yankees how good he is when he is at his peak, because his knuckle curve is legitimately one of the best pitches in all of baseball. It was
funny when he threw 20-something straight knuckle curves or whatever it was, power curves, and they couldn't hit anything. And the Yankees, they then show a clip of CC Sabathia striking out the Astros, but they forget about how the Yankees literally scored like 4 or 5 runs in Houston in 2017, and then they scored 19 runs. I'm going back to 2017 now. I know that's off topic.
I know what you're saying. I want to talk about this too.
Yeah.
But like,
so yeah, go ahead.
So what you're getting at is everyone's giving us crap about the Astros cheating scandal, but like you were just saying, what was it, like you said the entire season in Houston they had like 17 runs or something?
Oh yeah. So in the entire, no. I was just going off the 2017 ALCS. Right. I was just going off the ALCS. They had like 4 or 5 runs in the entire series.
In 4 games.
Games 1, 2, 6 and 7. The Yankees had 19 runs in the 3 games in New York. If that's not evidence of cheating and highlighting the hypocrisy of what just went down in the seasons that the Yankees were cheating and people just overlooking it, I mean, that highlights
literally
it right there.
Covering it up.
Yeah. How can you cover that up? The stats are right in front of you. But yeah, they are. They're trying to.
We could go on. We could talk about that all. We've already kind of attacked the Yankees, so I'm not going to get into it too much. But I think going back to my point, I think McCullers, if he can get back to his peak, that is one of the best 3 pitching. That's one of the top 3 little trios in the league. I mean, tell me a team that's got a whole lot better. You really can't. I mean, there's probably 1 or 2 that you can make an argument. But I mean, the Mets were definitely in that running, but they're out of it now because I think Noah Syndergaard was already out. And is Jacob deGrom out now too?
Something said, I'll look it up. But yeah, I think you're right.
I think deGrom's out now too.
The Mets are definitely out of that.
And we don't want to get into the Mets, but my whole point is if McCullers gets back to how good he can be, I mean, he's one of the best pitchers in the league when he's fully healthy. At least he's got that just absolutely nasty knuckle curve. He's got pretty good velocity. I'm really high on Lance. I'm really excited to see him back. One thing you have to remember at this point in the year, and this is basically spring training, at this point in the year, hitters are always ahead of pitchers. But you gotta kind of ignore Justin Verlander. Justin Verlander has been absolutely nasty in the simulated scrimmages, but he's also a Hall of Famer, so you have to kind of look past that. Greinke got rocked a little bit today. Josh James is getting rocked. Lance McCullers hasn't looked great because they haven't really dialed it in yet. They haven't gotten into the routine yet. Pitching is so much about routine. I mean, you hear any pitcher talk, it's all about routine. Well,
that's why I think Verlander is just to highlight his greatness. Because, I mean, it's a guy on your team that you can just throw out there and just have faith in. I guess he just stays in routine all year long. Doesn't seem like he's fazed by COVID, by anything. Seems like he's just a robot that just goes out there, performs. I bet he has a routine every day of the week, even in off seasons. I bet he's still out there doing what he does because you can't stay that good. I mean, this season has been delayed 3 or 4 months and he's still like it's mid-season. Justin Verlander ready to go. I know it's simulation, whatever, but I have full confidence that Verlander is going to come back whenever games start. And I'm just not worried about Verlander. I just don't worry about him. I'm Greinke and McCullers, they may come around, but it's nice to have a guy like Verlander who just seems to stay in shape all year round.
Well, here's the difference with McCullers. I mean, with Verlander. Look at Zach Greinke. Back in both of their primes, they were the two best pitchers in the league. Both had high velocity. Both were just dominant. When Greinke was pitching for the Royals,
Greinke did used to have
high
velocity.
He was a high velocity guy, and Verlander pitching for the Tigers. Now, fast forward 10 years, Greinke's still a very good pitcher, but he doesn't have the velocity anymore. He doesn't
Verlander's still doing his thing.
He's a completely different pitcher. Verlander is exactly who he was in 2012. I mean, exact same pitcher.
Yeah.
And that is the difference. I mean, Greinke might be a Hall of Famer. Verlander's an all-time great.
For sure.
That's how good
all-time
he is.
great, yeah.
And that's the difference. Like, Nolan Ryan was the same way. He pitched till he was like 40, still throwing like 98. There's dudes that are just special, that are just different. They're built different. Verlander's one of those guys, and that's just the best way you can describe that difference between Verlander and guys like him.
And to piggyback on the whole Jacob deGrom, it doesn't look good for the Mets as far as they're saying. Jacob deGrom says he plans to come back opening day, but the Mets are saying they're not so sure. They actually have some doubts about that.
So he was hurt.
He was hurt his back. And if it's a 60-game season and the Mets aren't really – I mean, you don't pitch deGrom for the first couple weeks or whatever it is, and you push him back. I mean, why would you want to bring deGrom back if there's only like 40, 30 games left? I really don't understand why you would this year.
I would sit him out this year. I mean, they're not a playoff team anyway. Even if Pete Alonso just absolutely pops off, which he did last year, he can't carry that offense, and they haven't really added anybody. I guess Cespedes is coming back, but I don't think he's going to be even close to what he used to be. So
make the right call. Bench him for the year.
Just give him the year off, and I think that's the right call if you're the New York Mets. But getting back to the Astros, my biggest question for the Astros, the two biggest question marks for me, is the back end of the rotation, which won't matter once postseason comes anyway. You really only need the first 3 to 4 guys. The back end of the rotation and the bullpen. Those are my two biggest question marks. The back end of the rotation, it sounds like Framber Valdez, the lefty, has solidified himself as the number 4 pitcher. Brent Strom has been real high on him. He's always had great stuff. He just tends to be a little wild, but if he can dial that in, I mean, he could be a really good middle of the rotation type guy. So keep an eye out on him. That fifth spot's, it's kind of a toss-up. I mean, Josh James, they really like him, but I don't think he's ever really been able to fully show who he can be. He hasn't really reached his full potential. I think Brad Peacock's a guy that I really like, but I also like Brad Peacock out of the bullpen. I like him as a long relief guy much more than a starter. So I think that's where he's just at his best. He can definitely be a fifth starter.
Yeah, with Will Harris being not on the team anymore. I mean,
and Joe Smith is sitting out now too.
Joe Smith. You're needing those key guys who can come in big situations, and that's why Peacock, I think, should stay in the pen, because he gives you kind of that safety feeling when he comes out of the pen. I like him. I liked him as a starter too, but I think he's the stretch guy.
In the pen. So Peacock's the stretch guy. He gets it to Presley. Presley gets it to Osuna. Those are your three guys.
I'm fine with that.
That's very good. It's the rest of the bullpen that concerns me. Also, Ryan Presley had the knee injury in the playoffs last year. We don't know how he's looking. Obviously, he's playing, but Roberto Osuna's nasty as always. He beats batters in his wife. And then, of course,
Patrick Graff says your brother Patrick Graff says you're sleeping on your Queedy.
Well, I was going to get to him. So that fifth spot, you have Brad Peacock. Your Queedy is going to miss the start of the season because like Yordan Alvarez, he is on the IL. He's not going to be there. They haven't disclosed why he's not there, but it's probably COVID. Him and Yordan have probably tested positive, so they've got to wait the 2 weeks and then they'll activate him. So it doesn't sound like
the media.
It doesn't sound like they'll have Yordan. It doesn't sound like they'll have Urquidy to start the year. I agree with Patrick. Urquidy was awesome in the World Series. I think he's a really good 4th, 5th guy. But if he's not there to start the season, you got to find another guy. Forrest Whitley's been really solid, man. He's looking. People are comparing him to Garrett Cole just by appearance. I hate to do that. I don't want to compare him to a guy like that. But he's got that type of stuff. He's just got to put it all together. So he'll be an interesting guy to follow. Josh James, of course, I mentioned him. Brad Peacock, Austin Pruitt's a guy from the Rays. High spin rate, which Brent Strom and the Astros love. Doesn't have a ton of velocity, but neither did Charlie Morton. And then he showed up and started throwing 98. So maybe they'll do something like that with. They just change because with Charlie Morton, he was a sinker ball pitcher, so he was trying to throw everything low. And the Astros changed his philosophy to where they want you to throw fastballs and then break it off.
And then he became a legend. And now he became a Houston legend.
He tapped his potential. He found out how he should be, how he is at his prime, is throwing the hot. He apparently threw way harder than he thought he did because they completely changed his way of thinking. So he's like, I'm going to throw hard and I'm going to throw nasty curves, nasty sliders. I think that could work with a guy like Austin Pruitt. He just fits that mold. So that's another guy to keep an eye on.
I think you're hit the nail right on the head. But I was also going to talk about how you're talking about Brent Strom. Mentioned him a few times. That's been the consistency for the Astros all the way through until now. Brent Strom, the pitching coach. You can't deny the greatness of Astros pitching with Strom at the helm. I mean, guys want to play for him. There's people that want to be on the Astros because they know Coach Strom is going to teach them about spin rate and things like that, and he's going to make them a better pitcher. Even late in careers, he can make guys better pitchers. So it's comforting because Coach Strom, anytime he gets interviewed, he's always kind of smiling, and he's got just like a way about him that makes you want to play for him. Just seems like a really cool guy to play for, and he knows his stuff. So I think that's going to be if anything goes bad for the Astros, the saving grace will be Coach Strom and the pitching. I think the offense will be fine. I think that they'll be all right. I don't think they're going to be a problem. But Brent Strom and the pitching will probably be like the guiding force for the Astros. If they do something this year, it'll be because of Brent Strom.
I 100% agree. I think that's a good note to end today's show on, Parker. Oh, wait. You want to talk about Russell Westbrook, so let's jump to that.
Yeah.
Let's talk Houston Rockets.
Westbrook came out with COVID positive, and I think for a while they thought James Harden had it, but James Harden actually, there was video of him entering the bubble all masked up, ready to go. So I think we're good. Coach D'Antoni doesn't seem too worried about Russell Westbrook, but I actually think it's the beginning of the end for the bubble. I think Russell Westbrook's going to get whatever. He's going to get patched up. The quarantine will be over, whatever. He'll be healed. But the NBA, locking these players in the bubble for 2 to 3 months, telling them they can't have any outside influence. I mean, these guys are used to partying. They're used to bringing girls home every night or going out, having fun. I have a feeling they're going to be sneaking a lot of females, a lot of friends. Let's just say they're bringing their friends into the bubble. I don't know how you keep these guys in line with the rules and regulations with these NBA guys who are used to having a certain lifestyle. I was worried about it last week, and I'm still worried about it. How I just don't know. With all these guys, with Russell Westbrook being one of the main ones to get COVID, I think a few others might as well. I just don't know how you tell these guys we're going to isolate you this long. These guys are living a certain way. These hotels, like a downgrade for most of these guys. They'd be an upgrade for most people, but they're actually a downgrade for us. I mean, the other day at PJ Tucker, I saw him. He has an 80-inch TV installed into his hotel room because he just wanted a bigger TV. So, I mean, these guys are going to probably bring their friends over. They're going to probably bring some girls into the bubble. I don't know how you keep these guys separated from the public and keep them isolated in the hotel room. Tell them to go to the hotel room and practice. That's it. Hotel room practice. For me, telling these guys to do that for 2 or 3 months, that's a recipe for disaster. I don't think these guys are going to want to do that. Eventually, someone is going to break the bubble rule, and they're going to end up going out. I think it's nice to try it, but you can't keep these guys locked away and make them play games for 2 or 3 months. A lot of these guys aren't going to sign off to that.
And I thought I have to agree with you. I guess only time will tell. But and we will touch on that more next week. It's been a great episode. If you haven't already, come check out the website. You can find the link on our Twitter, on our Facebook. We just launched a new Twitter page, Old Main Entertainment on Twitter. Make sure to check it out. You can find anything happening with Old Main Entertainment on right there. Got a new blog up, so make sure you check that out. The Lowdown, Mark Brown's show, came out with a great episode earlier this week. Make sure you check that out. Shout out to Mark. hopefully we'll get him on the show sometime. And Sean and Chondo, one of our writers, is really interested in doing some stuff, and he's looking to get back into the writing game. So
he's been bogged down with algebra, but he'll be back.
He's been busy, but he'll be back. We've all been busy, but we are back. Thank you for tuning in, everybody. We will see you next week.